The following is an AZPM original production.
For AZPM, I'm Mark McLemore, and this is Arizona Spotlight. Coming up, film historian Michael F. Blake looks at the important role the Monument Valley played in the movies in his book, The Cavalry Trilogy, John Ford, John Wayne, and the Making of Three Classic Westerns. Meet a librarian from the Pima County Public Library who recently received national recognition for his efforts to bolster youth mental health and combat social stigma in our community. And find out what's in store when Scoundrel and Scamp Theatre presents a new late-night radio hour production, a double feature of Sorry Wrong Number and Who's On First. Those stories are next on Arizona Spotlight. As a movie lover, I was thrilled to make contact years ago with film historian Michael F. Blake. His dad was a celebrated makeup man and actor who worked under the legendary Jack Pierce at Universal Studios, so Blake grew up very well acquainted with the roar of the grease paint and the smell of the crowd. Following his own career as a makeup artist and actor, Michael F. Blake dedicated himself to film and historical scholarship and has written acclaimed books about both the silent movie star Lon Chaney and American President Teddy Roosevelt. His latest let him revisit the larger-than-life collaborations between two silver screen legends. It's called The Cavalry Trilogy, John Ford, John Wayne, and the Making of Three Classic Westerns.
Well, John Ford's my favorite director. I consider him the greatest director of American cinema. 4 Oscars for Best Directing, which nobody else has topped. I've always loved Ford's films. I love the Cavalry Trilogy, and I always felt there was more to tell about it than what you see in most books. Unfortunately, writers who are doing biographies on Ford or John Wayne, they only have so much room. And, word count is your worst enemy, so you got to cut to the bone. So I just thought, it's time the Cavalry Trilogy got its due.
To define for our listeners, the Cavalry Trilogy encompasses what films and what years?
It starts off with Fort Apache in 1948. She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, 1949, Ford's first film he shot in Monument Valley in Technicolor, and ends with Rio Grande in 1950.
So in a very short span of time by today's standards, he was able to crank out 3 classic westerns.
And in very short amount of time shooting, he brought Fort Apache in under schedule by 15 days. She Wore a Yellow Ribbon was done under 33 days, and same with Rio Grande, which, when you compare it to what it takes now to get a movie done, it's a miracle.
Yeah, it's easily a tenth of the time, even for a smaller budget type picture.
Right.
So I recently watched The Grapes of Wrath for the first time. I read the book in school, but had never seen the film. And immediately I felt a comfortable hand on my shoulder. And I attribute that to John Ford, that his direction is so solid that you're in the hands of a good storyteller. Where did that confidence come from? How is it that John Ford was able to achieve the level of success he did as a director? What do you think his major influences were?
Silent movies. In the silent movie era, when he started, you had to tell a story pictorially. You could rely on a few title cards here and there, but you had to tell the story with the actors and let their emotion show through their face and their body. John Wayne always said that Ford had an ability to take a script and throw out all this dialogue and keep the actual meat of the story, and it meant more. And there's so much, like you say, in Grapes of Wrath, that wonderful scene when Grandpa dies and he's holding the ground in his hand as he dies. You didn't need any dialogue to get that across. He knew what mattered. He knew how to tell a story, and he cut the film in the camera in the sense that if we were doing a scene together, he might use a 2-shot of the two of us and say, okay, that's it, let's go on next. A great example of that is James Stewart and Richard Widmark alongside the river and Two Rode Together. He did it in a 2-shot. The whole scene between the two of them never went into coverage.
Why did you come? If you must know, it was mostly to get away from Belle.
Belle? Why?
Well, it's not a subject you can discuss in mixed company. It's matrimony.
No, matrimony.
And of course, in this case, when one of the parties is... You know, she carries a stiletto right there in her garter.
I know.
And we were sitting around the place talking. How do you know?
Well, you just told me.
So we've established that John Ford was not a typical director of his era. He was one of the greats. John Wayne, not a typical actor of his era.
No.
Also one of the greats. How would you describe the two men and their working relationship?
Wayne always called Ford Coach or Pappy. And Ford was born in 1894. Wayne was born in 1907. It was very much a father and son relationship in a way, because Wayne's relationship with his dad was okay, but it wasn't great. And he saw his father fail in business after business after business, where Ford didn't. It could be contentious at times. I'll tell you this, I was at Ford's funeral, and as they're wheeling his casket out with the battered U.S. flag that he had taken from the Battle of Midway, and he's coming out, and the organist is playing Battle Hymn of the Republic, and my Irish sentiment, Irish will cry at a traffic light changing. I was trying to hold back the tears, and then I saw John Wayne walking down the aisle. His face was all red, covered with grief. He was sobbing. I lost it, completely lost it. And you could tell, you wanted to go up to John Wayne and give him a hug, because you could tell that their friendship, it was very rare in Hollywood. And to this day, it's very rare in Hollywood. Wayne was extremely loyal, not just to Ford, but the Ford Stock Company people and crew members, and even the Navajos that worked in the films. Wayne brought in John Stanley and Minnie Mules and Jack Stanley, the brother of John. John's the one in McClintock who says, "Great party, where's the whiskey?" Well, he brought him in. Wayne was tremendously loyal, as was Ford. There was a lot there between the two of them.
It's easy to look back in retrospective and say the Cavalry trilogy, but was there anything like that on the minds of either Ford or Wayne, that they were making 3 films that were going to be thematically linked? Was there any inkling that this was going to be regarded one day as a trilogy?
No. Ford had even said in interviews that he didn't plan on making a trilogy. It was basically he needed to make money. The Fugitive, which was the first of a 5-picture deal at RKO, was a complete bomb. Made, I think, $800,000 total. And it left the company in about $500,000 debt at that point. Now we're talking $1947.
Why do you think was a key reason why it failed?
It was too symbolic. It was beautifully shot by the Mexican cinematographer Gabriel Figueroa. I wouldn't call it one of Ford's best. And because of that, he had to turn to the Cavalry. And James Warner Bella had written several short stories for Saturday Evening Post and Collier's. And he wrote one called Massacre. And Ford bought the rights, and he turned that into Ford Apache. Ford always said using a short story to make a movie versus a novel like Grapes of Wrath was so much easier, because it gives you just a basis to build the story on and then enhance it from there. Whereas if you're doing a novel, what do I cut? What do I keep? So all 3 Cavalry trilogy were based on James Warner Bella stories. And he did Ford Apache first. He wanted to shoot it in color, but it was too costly. So they went out to Monument Valley once again and had Henry Fonda, John Wayne, Shirley Temple, Victor McLaughlin, Pedro Armendariz, a great performance by Mexican actor Miguel Iclan playing Cochise. He never says one word in English. It's all in Spanish. And there's this one great scene when he realizes that they're going to have to fight the cavalry, and he picks up this dust and he stands there and he throws it down on the ground, and you see his shoulders slump, and he walks away because like he's going like, oh, God, we got to do this. Why do they have to be so stupid? Beautiful moment, beautiful moment.
Por eso, con mi gente, me fui de los cerros.
And so I led my people from the hills.
Entonces vino ese hombre,
And then came this man,
un hombre malvado, que no dice la verdad y que ha sembrado la enfermedad y el vicio en toda mi nación.
What did he say? Well, sir, a free translation would be that Meacham's a yellow-bellied polecat of dubious antecedents and conjectural progeny. Coach's his words, of course, sir, not mine.
That's a matter of opinion.
So let's talk about the role that the Arizona Territory plays in these films. People like to say that the location becomes a character in the film, etc. What's your opinion?
In any John Ford Monument Valley is as much important character as the actors are. John Milius, the director, said he felt that John Ford was having a love affair with Monument Valley. And he was. He loved Monument Valley. And the way he would photograph it, it's every image is a painting. There's a great shot in She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. My God, it's a Charlie Russell painting come to life.
So, Michael, I can tell that you came to this project with a lot of enthusiasm and nostalgia and love for these films. Now that you have written the book, has any of that changed for you? Do you have any difference between how you feel about these films now as when you started researching?
No, I have greater love for him. Like I had said, that how Ford shot these films in 45, 30 some odd days, it's unheard of. He always said there are no problems, only opportunities.
I spoke with Michael F. Blake. His latest book about movie history is The Cavalry Trilogy: John Ford, John Wayne, and the Making of Three Classic Westerns. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, it can be a decade or more between the time a person develops symptoms of a mental health problem and when they get professional care. Experts say that youth who are struggling are far more likely to turn to their peers or to books when seeking the hope and the help they need. Next, Alicia Vasquez meets Matthew Landon, a librarian in the Community Outreach Office of the Pima County Public Library. Landon has been involved in several projects designed to reach out to youth in need in our community, and last month he was recognized with a national award for his work.
Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you.
Now, if you don't mind first just starting and telling us about the Movers and Shakers Award that you were given.
Yes, the Library Journal is a national trade publication, and I was named a Mover and Shaker for the May issue. And the Mover and Shaker Award was primarily for my work with the Youth Health Action Team at the Pima County Public Library.
Now, if you don't mind telling me just about the work that you do with the Youth Health Action Team.
Back in 2022, with my colleague Heather Severson and with a grant from the Arizona State Library, with funding from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, we paid presenters, hired youth interns, provided digital literacy training, and secured supplies for the creation of an array of writing, art, and media art projects. We recruited 15 interns for the 2022-23 school year, and they completed 19 projects, including bookmarks designed with pro-mental health messages and a weekly youth health zine program called Lifeline.
Now, when you bring up mental health, we've heard the concept of stigma busting. What does that mean to you, and how do you feel empowered in your line of work to take steps to bust stigmas?
Yes, part of addressing mental health is addressing the stigma that surrounds mental health issues. Stigma is a mark of shame that often accompanies a mental health diagnosis. People get this idea from society and from themselves that mental illness is a failing on their part or that they have something to be embarrassed or ashamed about. It doesn't make sense when you think about it. People don't feel this way when they get a cancer or a heart disease diagnosis. Stigma and self-stigma prevent real communication, understanding, and empathy with those involved. The Health Action Team youth were frank about the issues they faced, and Frank Talk combats stigma by putting issues out in the open so that any reader faced with similar challenges knows that they are not alone.
What led you to be so passionate about the idea of opening dialogue about mental health?
Really, this all started with the 2021 Surgeon General's Advisory on the Crisis of Youth Mental Health. The pandemic was happening, and even before the pandemic, an alarming number of young people struggled with feelings of helplessness, depression, and thoughts of suicide. And we wanted to tackle this issue on a broad level at the library. And I have personal experience with mental illness myself as a young person, and that led me to be passionate about this issue and to really push forward to make something happen and make it a success.
How can just the whole concept of literature be a powerful tool to help kids struggling with mental illness and to help them find the strength to open up dialogue about their own personal struggles?
The library prides itself in offering a diverse array of materials for our customers. So we try to provide books that all of our customers are interested in, even controversial books. But books about mental health and books with protagonists who struggle with mental health are popular in the library and allow readers to get that empathy and to see themselves in another person's shoes. Books can transport you to a new world, and in that world you can be a hero. You can struggle and survive your mental health challenges.
A great point to bring up. And also, personally, were there any books that inspired you, books that helped you in your own journey?
That's a great question. I was drawn to fantasy books as a child, and my favorite author as a young person was Ray Bradbury and his Martian Chronicles and his other collections of short stories. Ray Bradbury had a great way of bringing you into the story, and he had a positive message about community and people that really shone through in his work.
Alicia Vasquez talked with Matthew Landon of the Pima County Public Library. He's the co-founder of the Youth Health Action Team. We have a link to get in touch with them on the Arizona Spotlight page at azpm.org. Next, we'll find out what's in store when Scoundrel and Scamp Theatre recreates the experience of old-time radio next weekend. It's a new late-night radio hour production, and it's a double feature. The thriller Sorry, Wrong Number is paired with the classic comedy routine Who's On First. I spoke with Samantha Severson, the producer and director of the Late Night Radio Hour, about some of the things that make these performances unique and different from other stage plays.
Well, one of the main components is we use a live Foley artist. So we're not using any recorded sound or any canned sounds or pre-recorded anything. It's all happening live on stage. So we have to create those sounds within the play as it's going on live, including music and all the sound effects. And it's a really interactive experience for the actors and the audience. And so everyone just really gets a huge kick out of it.
Basically, what you're doing is recreating the experience of when radio used to have dramas and comedies and plays and, all sorts of theatrical type entertainment, but broadcast over microphones. So you don't put too much stock, I would think, in blocking or costuming even, right? It's not meant to be a visual experience.
No, so we incorporate the visual because it is still a live theater production. So our actors, in addition to playing the characters in the script, they're also playing their own characters as actors within this radio studio. So that way it's even more full for the audience to really enjoy watching, so they can see those relationships that are happening between the actors who are not performing in front of the microphone while also listening to the story that's being told.
And when you touch on interactive, what's an example of how the audience can become interactive with what's happening on stage?
We record these, so we're including, those live reactions of the audience. A lot of the things that kind of bring more fullness to actually listening to them play back is hearing those small reactions and those little gasps and big laughs and hearing them react to what those sound effects sound like, and altogether just feeling that whole immersion of like a live theater, but really just in that audio of the radio play.
This next production that we're going to talk about, Sorry, Wrong Number, has a really interesting history. There was a movie version made in 1948 that most people, if they're going to remember this title at all, are going to know it through that. But before that, a decade or two even, it was a really hot property on radio. This was a play that was heard by so many people and was so successful that it kept getting encored. They kept bringing it back on different shows. You know, you'd have like the Colgate Hour and whatever, Lux Radio Theater and so forth. And different leading ladies from Hollywood wanted to play this part and wanted to do what Barbara Stanwyck gets to do in the movie. But it really had an amazingly successful career on radio. So tell us a little bit about why this play was chosen and your excitement in performing it.
So I love all the radio thrillers. You know, we did War of the Worlds last season, which is one of my favorite radio plays of all time. And then Sorry, Wrong Number just happens to fit right into that same mold where we're getting close to October. So we're getting close to the spooky season and people want to have those experiences and really get into that. And the way that it's written, Sorry, Wrong Number is so good. It's so suspenseful from the beginning all the way until the end, and you don't realize what's coming unless, of course, you know the story already. But it's one of those things where it really harkens back to those really old radio plays where you would just listen and intently wait for the next thing to happen, and you're just on the edge of your seat because you don't know what's going to come next. And then all of a sudden you get to the climax at the end, and there's almost a release of oxygen out of the entire room, no matter where you are. It's so beautifully written, and I just love it so much. It's going to be an incredible performance.
Would you say that it is more demanding than some plays on your leading performer?
Yes. So our leading lady, Carlisle Ellis, is doing a lot of heavy lifting on this role, but she's going to be incredible. And fortunately, because we're doing a double feature for this particular performance, she only has to do the one show where everyone else has to work on both shows. So she gets a little bit of a break and she gets to enjoy watching the other show happen.
Well, what is the other half of the bill?
So the other half of the bill is going to be Who's on First, which is everyone's favorite comedy routine from Abbott and Costello. And when I say everyone, I mean my father and myself. And so we start the night with this suspenseful, amazing thriller. And then we get to end the night with this iconic comedy skit.
Can you tell our audience where and when the performance will be?
We're going to be performing for one night only at the Scoundrel and Scamp Theatre. It will be Saturday night, September 21st at 9 p.m. And it's only a one-night, 1-hour performance, no intermission. We're just going to jump right in.
And then who did you bring with you today, and what are we going to hear next? Can you set it up?
So we have Max Wingert and Dennis O'Dell, who are two of our actors that are involved in both Sorry, Wrong Number and Who's on First. They are going to be doing an excerpt from Who's on First as Abbott and Costello.
Samantha Severson, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, Costello, I'm going to New York with you. You know, Bucky Harris, the Yanks manager, gave me a job as a coach for as long as you're on the team.
Look, Abbott, if you're the coach, you must know all the players.
Right, certainly do.
Well, I never met the guys, so you'll have to tell me their names, and then I'll know who's playing on the team.
Oh, I'll tell you their names, but, you know, strange as it may seem, they give these ball players nowadays very peculiar names.
You mean funny names?
Strange names, pet names, like Dizzy Dean.
His brother Daffy?
Daffy Dean.
And their French cousin?
French?
Gouffet?
Ah, Gouffet Dean, I see. Well, let's see. We have on the bags, we have who's on first, what's on second, and I don't know who's on third.
That's what I want to find out.
Well, I say who's on first, what's on second, and I don't know who's on third.
Are you the manager?
Yes.
You're going to be the coach, too?
Yes.
And you don't know the fellas' names?
Well, I should.
Well, then, who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the fella's name.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who is on first?
I'm asking you, who's on first?
That's the man's name.
What's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who?
Yeah.
Look, you got a first baseman.
Certainly.
Who's playing first?
That's right.
When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar of it.
All I'm trying to find out is the fella's name on first base.
Who?
The guy who gets the money.
That's it.
Who gets the money on first base?
He does, every dollar. Sometimes his wife comes down and collects it for him.
Whose wife?
Yes. What's wrong with that?
Look, all I want to know is when you sign up the first baseman, how does he sign his name on the contract?
Who?
The guy.
Who?
How does he sign it?
That's how he signs it.
Who?
Yes.
All I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base.
No. What's on second base?
I'm not asking who's on second.
Who is on first?
One base at a time.
Well, don't change the players around.
I'm not changing nobody.
Hey, take it easy, buddy.
All I'm asking you, who's the guy on first base?
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
What's the guy's name on first base?
No, what is on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
Oh, he's on third.
Thank you for listening to Arizona Spotlight. This show is a production of AZPM. The production engineer is Jim Blackwood. Production assistance by Sophia Hammer. I'm producer and host Mark McLemore.
AZPM podcasts are made possible in part by donations from listeners like you. Learn more at support.azpm.org. Thank you.